Tell us your name. What's your full name, Grandma?
Mary H. Stevenson, Burton, Carswell.
Now, what's the H stand for?
Well, it's for honey.
And when were you born?
It was for to separate me from the other Mary Burtons.
Oh, okay. How many were there?
Oh, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them.
And when were you born?
1907,
What day?
April the 13th.
April 13th, 1970. And your parents' names were what?
Maudie Ellen McLennan Stevenson. And she married Charlie Zeno Stevenson.
Okay. And how long were they married? You remember?
I've got it wrote down in my little book.
Okay. Now, you were born where?
In Illinois.
And whereabouts in Illinois?
The little town they call Whiteheath, Illinois.
And what did your daddy do?
He was a farmer, worked for the farmers.
And where was he from?
He was from Somerset, Kentucky.
So how did he get up in Illinois?
We went by train.
How did he meet your mom?
That I don't know. Where he met her. Cause they were all both lived in the Tremble neighborhood.
Now, Tremble neighborhood's where? Kentucky?
That's down the Zollicoffer Road, way down.
Okay. So
in Kentucky.
So your mom was from Somerset too, or from Nancy?
Yeah, she was. Her mother died when she was 3 days old, so she lived with her brothers and her sisters, just first one to another, till she got up big enough she got married.
So you never knew your grandmother on your mother's
No,
side?
I never got to see either one of my grandparents, only my daddy's mother.
Did they just die early on? They had just died early on? They had died before you were born?
Oh, yes. Grandpa Stevenson died in September before I was born in April.
Okay. And what did they do? Were they farmers also?
Yes.
In Kentucky?
They was little farmers down in the, what they call the Tremble or Delmer neighborhood.
Okay, now you said you were born in Illinois though, so what made your parents go to Illinois from Kentucky?
Oh, he'd go down, Papa'd go to Illinois to work for, a few months, and he'd get tired and he'd come back home to Kentucky.
Okay. And so, as far back as you can remember, tell all the names of your grandparents, your parents' parents and grandparents and your great-grandparents, if you can remember them.
Mommy's mother was named Becky, and she was a Pears. And her daddy's name was Joe McLennan.
Okay. Go on.
And Poppy's mother, her name was Kitty. Anyway, she was called Kid Stevenson.
Do you remember?
She was a Markham. She was a Markham.
Okay.
They called her Aunt Kit.
People called her Aunt
Everybody
Kit.
did. And she was real old and tan and leathery skinned.
I don't remember just how old she was when she died, but she was old.
Over 100. Would you say she's as much as 102?
I'd say she was around close to 100, give or take.
Okay. Now, that's your mother's side, right?
No, that's my daddy's.
Your dad's side. Okay. Is that as far back you remember of names?
Yeah, that's...
Okay. Do you know where your daddy's people came from?
They're from around there, Neome, as far as I know. My grandmother Stevenson. She come over or across or something in the covered wagons.
From where?
I don't know where they come from at that time.
They settled in, I think in Virginia maybe. They came
Somewhere.
from Virginia into Kentucky because they were some of the earlier settlers in
Yeah.
Virginia, in the state of Virginia.
Now Stevenson's what nationality? What name?
Irish.
She had a little Indian in her. And,
Grandma Kidd had quite a bit of Indian in her.
yeah. And she was,
You know what tribe?
huh?
You know what tribe?
Cherokee.
What tribe?
Cherokee.
Cherokee, I guess.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Okay.
And she's the one that used to own this horse down at the end of my hall. And she always kept licorice string candy up in the top left-hand drawer. And when I was a little girl and Mother would take us down to her mother's house, Aunt Kit was always up on the hill making soap in this great big black kettle or making candles or something. And us kids, we'd slip and do it behind Grandma's back, but we would call her the old witch, and we'd say, the old witch is up there making a brew because she wore long black dresses to her ankle and wore long black aprons, and she wore a black bonnet. And she kept all of her body covered, and all you could ever see was her little brown wrinkled face and her little brown hands.
Okay. All right. What about your mom's side of the family? Her parents.
Grandma
names.
Becky. Grandma Becky come from Virginia.
Okay.
Or no, I'll take that back. Come from Tennessee. And I don't know what part of Tennessee. And Grandpa McClellan, he was over there in what they call the Potter Shop. They call it the Potter Shop settlement now, which used to be the McLennan Ridge, they called it.
Okay. When you were a little girl growing up, do you remember people talking about any relatives, any black sheep of the family?
I've always heard there's a black sheep in every family.
But we didn't have any, you didn't have any notorious black sheeps or anyone who did anything
Just
really bad?
Jesse.
Real bad.
Yeah.
No,
Nobody was hanged for stealing horses or anything like
no,
that?
nothing like that that I know of.
What about any people they talked about in the family who really did something great? Anybody?
My grandma, you want just any kind of stuff?
Well, yeah, okay.
Grandma said that that she had to, the women back in her earlier settlement, they'd have to get their evening meal cooked after their husband came in from work. Or said that if they went to cooking meat or anything, the bears would come in the house to devour what they had. And said that one woman that she knowed went across the field and the bear got after her and said she'd run just hard as she could to trying to get to somebody's house. The houses are so far apart. And said that she'd drop her bonnet, she'd drop her, hit the bear would stop and smell of that, and she'd get a little speedway on, get a little distance between them, and said that it'd go to getting up close to her, and they'd drop their aprons, and then the bear would stop and scratch and smell around over that. That'd give them the lady a little more ahead of time. And she just kept dropping her different things that way till she got to the house. And so she said it was, then there's one woman lived by herself and said she had a dog and she wouldn't let the dog in the house. And said that the dog come in the house that evening and she couldn't get him out. And when she got ready to go to bed, her bed was sitting under a window. And said whenever she went to go to bed, that dog beat her in the bed and got up between her on the side of the bed next to the window, and said she couldn't get him off of the bed. So she thought, well, he's acting awful queer and awful funny. I don't know what's wrong. But she let him alone, and she went on to bed and said she didn't much more than get in the bed till that dog jumped through the window and knocked a big black nigger down. And I think the dog killed the nigger. I forgot.
As much as you remember, all your family, your daddy and mom's family were farmers?
Yes.
No politicians or?
No.
No politicians or?
No.
Did any of the family have any slaves? Did anyone own any slaves that you know of?
On their place.
On their own slaves? Did they have any slaveholders?
No, not that I know of.
Okay. And you say Grandpa Zeke served in the Civil War?
Yeah.
And he's the only one that did?
And also, no, not Grandpa Zeke. Grandpa's Zeke's father.
Oh, okay.
And his father-in-law.
And his father's name was?
And his father's name was Milford Burton.
Okay.
And what was his father-in-law's name? I don't remember.
His father-in-law's name was Joshua Burton.
Okay.
Oh, that's who Daddy was named from, Joshua Harlan. Okay.
And Joshua Burton's wife's name was Louise. And, wait a minute. Yeah, Louise. And Milford Burton's wife was, I never did hear her, nothing on Aunt Tubby.
Where are most of these folks buried? Around in Somerset, Nancy?
Well, it would be, Somerset was their hometown.
Okay.
But they live back in the different
They're all over
neighborhoods.
county cemeteries.
Okay. Okay, let's see. So tell us about how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I had a brother older than me that lived to be 6 weeks old, and he died. And he had some kind of fever, which the bottom of his feet turned spotted, and they said it was, I believe, scarlet fever or something. I don't know what they called it.
Okay. What about it?
And then I had Oscar Stevenson was my next brother, and Ty was my youngest brother.
So you were third and 4 children?
I was there was 3 of us living until about 4 years ago when Oscar died.
Okay. Okay, and how many grandchildren do you have right now?
I've got 6 children, 6 in-laws, 12 grandchildren, and I don't know how many grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren?
I've got 12 grandchildren.
Okay.
But you don't know how many great-grandchildren.
But I don't know how many great-grandchildren I got. I'd have to count them up.
Okay. Okay, when you were a little girl growing up, what are some of your most memories, your things you remember the most about growing up when you were a little girl?
Working and working. And I had pneumonia fever and malarial fever and chills. A man come along and he said, oh, Modi, he said, that was my mother's name. He said, Modi, he said, go to the crib, corn crib, and get some nice clean shucks and get the silks all shook out of the shucks and make a tea and let her drink it instead of water. And said that'll stop that fever and chills. It did.
Okay.
One day I was helping Mommy get dinner for company. I was small. Okay, honey. And so we had a step stove with a big kettle, deep kettle of soup beans on the cooking. And Mommy set the kettle of beans down in the stove, putting wood in the stove, and I was coming running down through there to help her setting the table. And we had a little old pup had got in the kitchen, and I got my feet tangled up in that pup. And the pup couldn't get out from between my feet, and I couldn't get over the pup. I fell 1 foot in that kettle of beans. Splattered them all up on my knee, and I had blisters as big as $50.
And how'd they cook back then?
On coal and wood stove.
So how'd you regulate the temperature?
You did.
Get it hot and make it boil.
You get it hot and let her cook.
Well, let's see.
If you wanted it cooked slower, you'd pull it back on the cooler part of the stove.
What was a typical day like for you when you were a teenager? When you were a teenager, what was a typical day like for you? When you were about 13 or 14?
Daylight.
What was a day like? A day like?
Oh.
What time would you get up? What would you do? What were your chores?
You get up around 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, what kind of chores did you have to do?
Had cows, just enough cows to do our milk and butter, and our horses to get fed, get them ready for the field work.
Were there things that you as a girl, the only girl in the family, supposed to do more than the boys were do? Or did you?
I don't know whether I was supposed to or not, but that's where I was called to.
Did you have to do more kitchen work, or did you get out in the fields just like the boys?
I got out in the field. And when fall come, the cane you made your molasses out of had to be stripped and work that up into molasses.
So after you got your chores done, had breakfast, then what did you do?
You start your day's work.
Okay. What about during school? Did you go to school?
Not too much. I had to miss too much. I went whenever there wasn't too much work for me to do, but when there's work for me to do, I had to stay home and work.
How far was the school from your house?
I'd say a half mile.
Was it a one-room schoolhouse type thing?
To begin with, yeah. And then they built on another room.
Okay. How'd you meet Grandpa?
Oh, and going to church.
Okay. What was going to church like? Where'd you go to church?
Delmer Nazarene Church.
What was the Sunday like?
It was start with Saturday. Saturday was like cleaning house and cooking and baking cakes and stuff and getting ready for Sunday. And then you'd have company on Sunday dinner. And if you didn't have company on Saturday night, to stay over.
But you never worked on Sunday, did you, Mama?
No work on Sunday, only cooking and
Did you just go to church in the morning time?
the morning and at night.
You went at night too? Did you go Sunday school?
Yeah.
And didn't have
And one thing in Sunday school that always stuck with me is I can't remember where it's at, but I've read it in the Bible several times, but I can't remember the chapter. But one verse said, be sure your sins will find you out. That little golden text, whenever them little cards, we had little Sunday school cards about that high and about so wide. And that was the golden text.
Well, what's the best Christmas you remember when you were growing up?
Well, when Christmas time come, it was hang up your stockings and you get an apple and an orange and a stick of candy and maybe a few peanuts or something like that.
Okay.
No toys?
Huh?
No toys.
No toys.
But you got one doll. How old were you when you got that nice China doll that you still have?
Oh, that little China doll. Mommy rode 13.
I'm talking about your big doll.
Mommy rode 13 miles when I was a little girl, horseback to Somerset to the doctor. And one evening when she come back, she had me that little bitty China doll. And then whenever I was a teenager, I did a lot of, before I got married, I had quilting. I did a lot of quilting and writing letters for an elder man. And one day he'd come over to our house and he had a long package wrapped up. He said, "Here, Mary's you a present." And it was a long China doll from Germany.
Did y'all go into town much?
I went to town after I got of any size to Poppy could leave with a wagon and his peddling stuff, vegetables, and stay with the wagon while he would carry the women would come out and buy vegetables, and he'd carry them into the house to the porch tongue. I'd stay with the wagon.
Okay.
And you'd leave your home about 12 to 1 or 2 o'clock of the night to get to town to peddle. They called it back then.
Had to go in the wagon.
Yeah, you had to go in the road
So
wagon.
you never went into town for fun, though?
Huh?
You never went in town for fun? You always went to town to sell?
Yeah.
Go to the doctor.
Unless somebody had to go to the doctor.
Okay.
How far would you say it was? 20 miles or more?
It was 15 miles anyway.
It took about 6 hours to go in town, or 7 hours.
It took some smart time. And then when one trip while I just barely remember being in Illinois and had something wrong with my lip, upper lip, and it turned up, swelled up, and it got up to my nose. And the boss told Poppy to take me to town to the doctor. And the buggy didn't have no umbrella, no shade over it, and they gave me an umbrella to carry over me. It come a puff of wind. It turned that umbrella wrong side out. And that umbrella and that puffed up lip is what I remember about that.
What was your wardrobe like? How many dresses did you have?
Whew. After I got in school,
Yeah.
had a pink dress that it was scalloped around the tail, and it was. Then I had a check dress, but anyway, you'd put on a clean dress on Friday to go to school because you had a lot of Friday visitors, and quick as you got home, that's the first thing you done. You pull that dress off and hang it up on a hanger. And Monday morning come, you put that dress on and wore it to school till Friday.
What did you wear in the fields when you worked in the yard?
I don't remember, just some old clothes.
But you wore dresses, right?
Yeah.
You never wore pants or anything?
No, I didn't wear pants. I didn't wear pants till I got allergic to the sunlight.
She didn't wear pants till she got martyred.
Okay, so you met Grandpa at church.
Huh?
You met Grandpa at church.
I guess it was.
You said. How old were you, do you remember?
Oh, I guess I was 16 or 17, I don't know, maybe 15.
Do you remember?
I was always so large some age people thought I was older than what I was.
Do you remember your first date
Nope,
with him?
nope.
What'd you do for dates when you? What did you go for a date?
You go to church and he'd walk you home.
That was it, huh?
That was it.
What'd you do before you started dating age? What'd y'all do for fun as kids?
We
What'd y'all-
didn't.
You didn't play games or anything?
Oh, we might have sat around in the front room and I played thimble and something like that. Guessing games.
Do you remember your first telephone?
She ought to remember that.
Or when electricity came out your way?
No, coal oil lamps and lanterns.
Okay, tell us about Grandpa's accident when your daddy's accident, Poppy's accident.
Yeah.
My daddy had an accident, which was he was cutting tree, working in the logwoods, and the tree fell, and he didn't get out of the way. He seen to it that the other man was on the upper side of where the tree's going to fall, and he got them back out of the way, and he started to get back out of the way, and the fence that they had took down to keep from breaking the man's fence. One of them bob wire, what do you call them? Oh, them sharp
Barb.
barb,
Wires?
caught the rubber heel of his shoe and throwed him backwards. And it fell across him. And the tree fell across him and mashed him up and broke his leg. And it scared the man that's helping him, so they didn't know what to do or how to do, and he raised up on his elbow and best he could and told them what to do and how to do to get that tree off of him. And he had to be hauled to town. The doctor come, and that telephone was a community party line. And there was somewhere between 16 and 18 phones on that one line. And somewhere down the line they had called the doctor at Nancy. And the girl that's staying with me, while my husband was in Illinois at work, I'd come in from doing up the evening's work, and she said somebody's got hurt on the, said come and see if you can tell who it is. So I got to the phone and Dr. Weddle said, I just don't understand who it is or what. He said, I said, Dr. Weddle, I said, I guess it sounds to me like it's Charlie Stevenson that got hurt. I said, that's my daddy. And I said, this is Mary Burton talking. And I said, he said, yeah, I recognize your voice. And I said, that somebody down at Tip Burton's are trying to call you, but I can't understand exactly what they're saying either. And I said, but I can tell you where he's at. I said, he's down on Jim McKinney place, a logging. I happen to know that at that particular time where he was at work at. And so he said, well, I'll get on down there just as quick as I can. So I rushed up and went out to my mother-in-law's and left my baby and my girl, hard girl there staying with me with Miss Burton, my mother-in-law. And got on the horse and rode the horse back down to where he was at. The first thing he said was, he said, Mary said, you're going to the hospital with me. He said, I have to go to the hospital. I said, well, yeah, I'll go with you, Poppy. But they give him the dope. The doctor told me, he said, now, you men, who's going to drive him to town, said, get him there just as quick as you can. But said, I'll give him all the shots I can give him. And said, he is, when them shots wears out, said may be in pain and all like that, but said, just keep it going. And back then, there wasn't but 3 or 4 cars in the community. And there was one man took my mother and me and one of the men that was helping him work to town. and we'd drive along in the wagon, in the car, ahead of the wagon, till we get a certain space ahead. And then they'd stop, pull over and stop the car, and wait for the wagon to catch up to see how he was. And it was a pastor and a neighbor man that had took him in the wagon, and they put a straw tick bed in the wagon for him to ride on. And that's how he rode that 13 long mile.
Did he die from that?
Yes, he died after he was, he liked about 3 days of being 2 weeks before he died. But he got saved before he died, and he told Mommy that he wanted her and the children to meet him in heaven. And that, but he had hopes of maybe get well up till the doctor told him that they was going to have to amputate his leg. And he said no. He said, if I have to go, I'll just go all in one piece. And he made arrangements, how he told Mommy how he wanted the funeral carried out for himself. Who to be the pallbearers, what songs to sing, and who to do the preaching, and everything.
Now you said you were already married when you got electricity and a phone out on the farm?
Yeah.
Okay. How long did you, when you were dating Grandpa, how long did you all date before you got married?
Close to 2 or 3 years.
Okay. And why did you wait so long to get married?
I don't know.
Was he trying to save up money for a place of his own, or?
No, he was just working for his parents. Just whatever they said do, that's what he done.
Okay. So when you got married, where'd you live?
On their place, at a rent house.
Until when?
After the first year, we went to Illinois. We got married in January, and we went to Illinois the 4th of July, and we liked 11 days of being married, a year, till we moved out in the rent house.
So what was the thing about going to Illinois again?
Pop and Mommy was out there, and at work, and we went out there to shuck corn.
Okay.
And
would that be what we call like a migrant worker? Somebody going to wherever the work is to farm, or?
I guess that,
About the same thing, but wasn't called out
yeah,
there.
about what we call today.
well, went out
About the
there,
same thing.
tried to save up a little money to shuck corn.
Now the red house on the farm, that's the house you all lived in most, right?
Yeah,
Now, did you all build that house?
we built the new house.
The new house, but not the red house?
The house that you children played in the basement so much of.
You built that house, I remember that, but what about the red house?
But the red house over the hill,
Uh-huh.
now that was the old house.
So was that Grandpa's parents' house?
That was Grandpa's tenant house.
Okay. Now did Grandpa inherit the farm, or did he buy the farm?
Nah, his daddy gave him that farm.
Okay. And you all were on the farm all your life then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see. As you think about all the years of growing up and whatnot, and all the changes that's taken place,
Mm-hmm.
what are 2 or 3 of the biggest changes that's taken place in your life that has made the most impact on you?
I don't know, Michael. It's changed so, just in the last few years, it's changed so rapid. You see, after my first husband died, I stayed on the farm by myself and rented it for 5.5 years. Till George come along in 1972. I'll get this all in. 1972, wasn't it, George?
I guess.
We got married.
Mm-hmm.
And then after we married, he was a carpenter, and he couldn't tend the farm with carpenter tools.
Yeah.
And So we decided to sell the farm and divide it up with the children, give them their part so they could be using it to their advantage. And we bought us a little home in Somerset.
If you could turn back the clock and keep some things today that we've kind of lost as time has moved on and people have lost certain values or way we do certain things, would there be any things you wish you could keep?
I wish we could, for one thing, I wish we could have kept good fellowship with people, good friendship, and people that was willing to take a hold and help each other more so than they are now. People nowadays will say, now if you need me, let me know. Or if I can be of any help, just let me know. They don't go and volunteer their help back like they did then. And they don't visit each other like they did back then either. They don't have time. We've got push button modern stuff today, but it keeps you working to try to pay the bill.
Yeah, are there some guidelines that you've used in your life that you've tried to follow and stick to? Some basic principles that...
Well, some of the best things that I can tell you and gives me more encouragement than anything is to try to remember to keep happy memories. We can't live in the past. Have happy memories, and if the bad things or the trouble things, put them aside. Don't dwell on them, and go with a. I like to think of carrying a good hymn, a good song. If I ain't a humming or whistling on it, I try to keep it in mind.
Okay. Well, I've run out of questions. Do you have anything you want to say?
No, I just,
Anything that you
I'll tell you, Michael, God has blessed me with 2 good husbands, 6 good children, and 6 good in-laws, and a host of grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And I'm wishing the best and happiness for them. But what worries me, if I want to sit down and worry about it, is what will happen. What will my children, my grandchildren, and then to think about the great-grandchildren, what will they have to go through with before we leave here? Because I do believe that, not because I'm getting older, but maybe it's because I'm realizing and seeing more different things. The Bible is fulfilling more all the time. I know I ain't going to church. But you don't have to go to church to...
You're right. And to be honest, and the
main thing, the only one I've got to really answer to and try to suit is my Maker.
You got any regrets?
Not really. Not really. Because I've always done what I thought was best to my knowledge at the times. If there's any regrets, I can't recall.
Does anything come to mind that I didn't ask that you want to share, or favorite story growing up, or?
Well, you know, it's so many things that, no, I'll not put it on.
You've been a good sport, and I appreciate you doing that. This will be a keepsake that your great-grandchildren can have, and your great-great-grandchildren can have, and...
Well, children, they don't seem to want to hold still to hear what the older folks had to go through with. And then it's just wonderful to think that I've been blessed as long as I have with the families and I know God has been with me all down through the years that I didn't even realize that He was there, but He was there, or I'd never made it. He was right there. That there song is, and one of the songs that I would prefer to be sung at my funeral is We're Going Down the Valley One by One.
Okay. Okay, well, I appreciate you doing this.
And if it's left up to the children, and if George is left behind, it's left up to the children when I pass on, if they want to open me for a funeral or they don't want to open me. I just as soon not be open.
Now, Grandma, this is a memory tape, not a last will and testament, so we'll have to let you work that out with somebody else. Well, we appreciate you doing this, and I'll turn it off now, okay?
Okay.